Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Parable of Henry Ruggs. Week 5 in the books now. All scores are official. We're going to be talking about and recapping the games this week, talking about the scores, went down in those games, and also just a little bit of drama. And a few rumors circulating, some potential trades going down in the league. So we're going to be talking about all that today. And let's get right into it. For our first game, we start off with a bang. It's I Love Penix and Booty versus Evan Team. Two teams that were 2-2 going into this matchup, and this game was fireworks, folks. I tell you what, all kinds of players just blowing their projections out of the water. We got running backs and Jonathan Taylor going for 31. Kyren Williams for Evan Team also going for 31, matching him. We got Jackson Smith and Jigba going for 27 points for I Love Penix and Booty. Jamar Chase going for 29 for Evan Team. But the difference in this one, folks, was the battle of the quarterbacks. Bryce Young for Evan Team putting up 12 points, but CJ Stroud for I Love Penix and Booty putting up 28 points. The difference maker for I Love Penix and Booty, Caleb Jackson and I Love Penix and Booty, they come away with the win here. Evan Team can't be too disappointed in this loss. I mean, if a team drops 149 points, they're just hard to beat. So Evan Team with 130, the highest scoring matchup of the week. I mean, you can't really be too upset about losing this one, but they'll look to bounce back next week. And now in game 2, we've got the Benson Boars taking on Dak D's Nuts in Yo Mouth. And I gotta tell you, going into this one, didn't really expect much of a fight here, and we really didn't get one. Dak D's Nuts in Your Mouth, 145. The Benson Boars, 101. The Benson Boars just kind of searching for just that playmaker right now, and Derrick Henry with a disappointing 9 points, and Jacoby Myers with 7. Just not gonna cut it in this fantasy league. So got some issues on the roster to figure out, and they've had some unlucky breaks with injuries, and even with bye weeks this week, they have 2 guys on IR and Trey Benson and George Kittle, and they got 3 guys on bye weeks. And meanwhile, we've got Dak D's Nuts in Your Mouth, who was playing with a full roster this week, and not only that, but they're clearly one of the contenders in this league to win it all. So just wasn't much hope for the Benson Boars to start, so I wouldn't really think about this loss too much. Just we'll see if they can get those guys healthy and see how they can recover from this loss. And with our third game of Week 5, we've got what was almost the game of the week. We've got Ruggs and Alcohol taking on Now Here's a Guy. And before I get into what happened in this game, there's a little bit of drama we need to talk about. Going into this week, there was lots and lots of chirping. Head coach Noah Bonzel and Camden Matthews, they've got a bit of a history. Going back to the OG Fortnite days when people would queue up in European servers, Oceania servers. These two queued up in a solo game, and they both dropped Moisty Meyer when Camden Matthews was unexpectedly hit with a hunting rifle shot from Noah Bonzel. What many call the shot heard around the world. And their relationship as friends just hasn't been the same since. I mean, it's still a sore subject for Matthews to this day. Bonzel was making lots of hate week posts going into this game, lots of chirping. And I gotta tell you, I mean, a rivalry game like this, Now Here's a Guy, they're 1-3, Ruggs and Alcohol's 3-1, but we all knew this was going to be a good game deep down, and it was. Now Here's a Guy, they looked like they were going to win it, but they went into the last game only up 8 points, and Ruggs and Alcohol still had Travis Kelce, and he came in and dropped 19 points, giving them a huge victory over Now Here's a Guy, and some pretty big bragging rights. Huge win for them. They moved to 4-1 on the season. Now here's the guy who still sits at 1-4 with his only win being against the Tomato Town Terrorists. So yeah, we'll see what happens for them moving forward. But at least for now, here's a guy. Their team looked much better than they have all season. So we'll see how their team does moving forward. For our next matchup of Week 5, we've got what we expected to be the worst game of the week, and it most certainly was. The Tomato Town Terrorists versus No Mo Juice. I mean, there's not much to say here. No Mo Juice came into this game losing 3 straight. Tomato Town came in here winless, and they remain that way, dropping an abysmal 88 points against No Mo Juice's 101. I mean, it's been a disappointing season for the Terrorists. I mean, they just, their team looks good, but they haven't been able to piece it together. They've got no wins. I mean, what else can you say? And to be fair, going into this game, they were without Bijan Robinson and Rome Odunze, but still, they were favored to win this matchup, and they didn't. And that was with No Mo Juice, one of their wide receivers, Tolbert, dropping 0 points, and their defense dropping -4. They still couldn't win. They couldn't do it. I mean, it's just inexcusable. And it's not getting any easier for them. Next week, they're taking on Pig Six, a team that's now 4-1 after this week. So it's not getting any easier for them, and I don't see how they can turn it around. But we'll see. Big win for No Mo Juice though. So hopefully this can be a turn of the tides for them. And for the 5th matchup of Week 5, we've got Bo Nix for MVP versus the Devengers. Not really a whole lot to say about this game. I mean, Bo Nix for MVP came out here and dropped 44 points. They started 2 people with bye weeks, Drake London and Loveland on their team. Malik Neighbors, who has a torn ACL, they tried to start him. This team has been abandoned, folks. This team has just been completely abandoned. Chance Cofield leaving the fantasy football group chat for the Parable of Henry Ruggs. So it looks like this team just might become a bye week for all opposing teams. So maybe there's some hope out there for Tomato Town. Maybe they can get a win against this team of all teams. But the Devengers, I mean, they scored 85 points. I mean, but at the same time, they just came off a week where they lost Tyreek Hill. So they're trying to do some soul searching over there, try and find that next big player, see who can step up and make some big plays for them. So we'll see how they look going forward. And with the 6th matchup of Week 5, Cooper Swags, Swisher Sweets, taking on App is Stupid. And look, I didn't think this was going to be a good game, truthfully, but I got to give credit where credit is due. I thought App is Stupid was going to blow the Swisher Sweets out of the water. I just did. And it was a blowout, but in the opposite direction. The Swisher Sweets came in, they didn't pay attention to any of the noise, and they beat App is Stupid 131 to 96. A big win for this team. They had Jake Browning in their lineup, but they made the right call. They subbed him out, and they put in Sam Darnold, who dropped 27 points this week. A big performance for him in this offense. Meanwhile, App is Stupid, led by Rex Green. They left Chuba Hubbard in the lineup for this game when he was out. Interesting decision, but they lost by 40 points. There really wasn't anything they could do there. So not really that big of a deal for them. But a big win for the Swisher Sweets. Before this game, their only win was against Tomato Town, but now they've got a more impressive win on their resume. So we'll see. This could be a big turn of events for them in this team. And now for our game of the week, we've got Pig Six versus Madison Beers Daddy. This was our primetime game of the week. Pig Six suffering their first loss last week against the Devengers. A disappointing loss, but they came into this game with a chip on their shoulder. They came in facing Madison Beers Daddy, the only unbeaten team remaining in the league, and they took them down. 116 to 103, a 13-point victory for Pig Six. Huge win for them and this team. Patrick Pig, I know he's really happy right now, facing a lot of criticism for his team, facing quote unquote weak opponents, low scoring opponents, but they came in here and they just won. They got the victory, 116 to 103. And as for Madison Beers Daddy, um, interesting performance for them. Uh, we've seen an explosive offense from them so far this year. It just wasn't there this game. Not that they played terrible, but definitely could have performed better. Quentin Johnson, Mark Andrews, I'm looking at you two. Both usually double-digit scorers, scoring single digits. So interesting to see that happen. Wonder if there's going to be any roster adjustments for this team, Madison Beers Daddy. But don't let this take away from Pick Six and what they did. Huge win for them. After this week's game, I had a chance to talk with head coach of Pig Six, Patrick Pig. So we'll go down to him now, and we'll let you hear his thoughts on this performance this week. I'm here with Patrick Pig, head coach of Pig Six. First off, congrats on your win this week in fantasy, Patrick. You knocked off Madison Beers Daddy. How does it feel to get a win like that?
Oh man, it feels good. I would, especially after all the chirping that's been going on. Had a bunch of people making some, I would say, false accusations about my team not being up to par and not being legitimate enough. But beside the point, kind of exceeded my expectations a little bit after last week's dud. It feels good. Feels good to get a big win like that. No longer anybody else undefeated in the league. So it's always a nice evened out up for everybody's takings now.
Yeah, Patrick, tell us about that. There were some questions about your team's ability to perform given how you won some of your games, especially after your loss to the Devengers. There were lots of criticism going on. What do you have to say to those people who doubted you and your team?
Well, one person that comes to mind would main chirping would be Cameron Estes, the coach of the Devengers. I got to give credit where credit's due. First off, he took me down. He beat me. I had higher expectations in that game than I did in this coming week because I know Madison Beers Daddy has a pretty good team. But there's a lot of chirping. I think the chirping was illegitimate, just due to the fact the argument was that my team had a weak strength of schedule. And my thought process in that is the strength of schedule of my team is literally your team. So are you calling your teams bad? Like, I can't help that my strength of schedule being weak is because I'm playing y'all's as teams. So you're making an argument against yourself that your own team is bad, which just makes them look bad. But besides the point, I try to put all that chatter to the side. Even with the chirping going on, I just like to sit back, let things play out. And usually, typically, they do work for the better. I get to say what I want to in the long run in the end. Um, so I let everybody else do the chirping, and then I'll get the final say so with a victory if and when that victory happens.
Right, right. Last thing, Patrick. Your team is facing off against the Tomato Town Terrorists next week, the only winless team remaining in the league. What do you have to do to make sure that your team walks away with a win?
I think this is a huge trap game for me. It comes with some risk. Obviously, you don't want to get beaten by an unbeaten team. I'm doing sitting pretty good right now. I'm gonna be 4-1 after this week said and done with. But going in all coming off of I've always thought coming off of a huge big win, you were at your biggest potential for an upset. I'm thinking back to Alabama getting beat by Vanderbilt after they beat Georgia last year. Plenty of instances around the world, NFL, college, however it may be. But obviously, Tomato Town Terrors being the only unbeaten team. Sorry, Brady. But my team's still got to perform. We're trying to run a program here that's bigger than what we're all making it to be. I've got some players that need to step up. Just to point it out straight and simple, Keon Coleman, he's going to be finding himself on the trade block if he keeps it up. Benched yesterday after the first drive for some so-called disciplinary issues. Hunter Henry, a lackluster performance. Mr. Dicker, only giving me 6 points. Little lackluster there, and Amari DeMarcado, some struggles yesterday. So we got to be on our P's and Q's going into the week 5, facing the winless Tomato Town Terrace. You can't take a step back after a big win like this against Madison Beers Daddy this past week, because it's when you're at your biggest potential for an upset.
Awesome. Thank you again, Patrick, and good luck to your team next week.
All right, I appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you again.
And lastly, last thing here before we go, I'm getting reports of a trade incoming. The offices of the Devengers and the offices of Now Here's a Guy, they're looking to finalize a trade that would send Lamar Jackson and Saquon Barkley to Now Here's a Guy in exchange for Bo Nix, J.K. Dobbins, Terry McLaurin, and Justin Jefferson. This is a big trade. I mean, I don't think we've seen a trade like this so far in the parable of Henry Ruggs. Lots of players involved, and lots of talented players involved at that. We haven't seen anything like this so far. This is a big trade, and I'm not really sure whose side I'm on in this trade. I'm just telling you. I'm just the one reporting the news. So let me know down in the comments who you think won this trade. And that's about it for this Week 5 fantasy recap here in the Parable of Henry Ruggs. I'm your host, Brady Thomas. We'll see you next time.